Pebble Mine is a very controversial mine that is located in Coastal Bay, Alaska, which is around 200 miles away from Anchorage. This particular part of Alaska is known for its salmon fishing industry. 24 separate communities are located around Pebble Mine site, with roughly 2,500 people living in the area. Pebble Mine started in the late 1980s, but further progress of the mine was halted in September 9, 2021 in the Environmental Protection Agency. The mine's owners is the North Dynasty Partnership, but in the early 2000s had a co-partner, Anglo-Americans, who left due to financial issues. Pebble Mine is the largest known copper and gold mine yet to be developed and would require the largest earth dam in the world. Although Alaska's economy benefits from the natural resources, Pebble Mine can cause severe environmental damage because of its effects on the water industry, effects on salmon, and effects on the local population. Water chemistry is essential for the health of the fish and clean water for the locals. Mines are known for having significant effects on the groundwater to nearby bodies of water. Somerville Mine in Colorado is a good example. The locals are still fighting for clean water even though the mine finished operation in 2013. This part of the video will cover acid mine drainage, or AMD, and pit lakes, which are two main concerns of water chemistry being affected due to the Pebble Mine. The following three pictures are from a study titled Potential Impacts to Wetlands and Bodies of Water Due to Mineral Exploitation, Pebble Mine Copper Gold Prospect, Southwest Alaska, conducted by Zumu and Chamber in 2019. They went to a couple of drill sites and documented how the sites looked along with taking samples of water coming from the sites and surrounding ground. Some essential sites are marked in purple in the image. Here are some images that were taken from 3 drill sites. The one on the left is from an arson flow from a drill site. The middle is a broken valve on a drill pipe, causing gray water to leak out. The last image is on the right, which has a modified stem that had no flow. Acid mine drainage occurs at all the sites that were marked. The settlement examples show that the land had an increase of minerals, which are shown in the table. The top is the natural levels of the following minerals, and the bottom is the finding from the 2 drill sites. This dramatic increase of these minerals can cause damage to local drinking water and fish. For now, the contaminants make the water unusable. Pit lakes are often used and often fail, especially in earthquake hotspots. Pit lakes are open-cut mines that may contain acid and toxic water. This is a nicer way to put it. Pit lakes is the same idea as a landfill, where mine waste is put in the pit and then filled with water with high amounts of salt. This creates a barrier. The barrier is there to push down the waste so it can compose or dissolve depending on the material of the matter. Pebble Mine planned on using pit lakes but was told to rethink the idea. Mazet, Persia, and Wawus wrote a study in 2020 on the topic titled Hydraulic and Water Quality Modeling of Pebble Mine Project Pit Lake and Downstream Environment After Mine Closure. The study stated that Pebble Mine pit lakes had a more significant chance of failing due to its location on a fault line. Therefore, any of the earthquakes that the southwest region of Alaska would cause the salt water to switch with the waste. Alternatively, the walls of the lake collapsed. They made a diagram of the proposed lake's strengths and weaknesses, which is shown here. There has already been damage to the water source around the Pebble Mine site, caused by the drilling sites that helped estimate how much material can be harvested from the mine site. Luckily, as far as a pit lake is being used, it is doubtful, for that there is much evidence that pit lakes in Alaska will cause harm to the environment. The salmon fishing industry is important for the Coastal Bay area because it's the main income and food source for the locals. Black-eyed salmon is the main fish for commercial use, for it is 34% of the annual salmon catched sourced out of Chinook River. The other species of the salmon, along with rainbow trout, are used for commercial fishing. Other reasons for the fishing industry being important for Coastal Bay area, it's hard to find other sources of work outside of the industry. For the area in which the Pebble Mine site is located is a remote area with few roads. This means that if Pebble Mine was to go on, they will have to build a road system to get goods and other materials in and out of this These roads would need to be put in across the Chinook River, the Inuit Lake, the Inuit River. This will affect approximately 70,000 sockeye salmon that come to the site each year. The road that will be put in for the Pebble mine can cause damage to the marine life for many reasons, which Kovish and Blur highlight in their article titled Assessing Risks to Fish, Habitat, and Population Associated with Transport Occurring for the Proposed Mine Operation in a Salmon-Rich Watershed in 2019. Here is an image of the Pebble Mine's road plan, which will be about 85.75 miles in length, but the road will partially or entirely block 10 to 32 more streams along the road. Treatments for the road can contain some amount of toxins that are known to contaminate the surrounding ground and water sources. These toxins can cause health problems to the marine life. Another way the roadway can affect marine life is through temperature changes in the area around the road, which can lead to habitat loss. Lasher and Blur found that the area between the Inuit River and the Chukalis Creek will be the most affected area for the sockeye, for this is where the majority of them spawn each year. Another issue that Pebble Mine brings up in the Crystal Bay fishing industry and community is that the government and other agencies, along with the Pebble Mine Partnership, wasn't listening to the local fishermen. Braun in 2007 wrote an article titled Set the Net, the Heritage Significance of Fishing Camps and Wild Salmon in Crystal Bay, Alaska, where Brad talks about the locals' thoughts on fishing industry and the way it's heading. One of the parts of the article talked about the local fishermen's concerns that Pebble Mine will damage the salmon run exponentially. On page 159, Vernon stated, fishers are beginning to become more vocal with the newly announced commercial fishing advocacy group called Sustaining Crystal Bay Fisheries, or SBBF. SBBF's primary mission is to amplify the voices of commercial fishers, stating fishermen's voices will not be silent. In the efforts to protect the Crystal Bay fisheries, acknowledging that fishers needed to sit at a table when faced with a large-scale development project such as Pebble Mine. Just like the fishermen in the Pebble Mine site area, the other members of the communities felt like they weren't being heard. Here are some social matters that the locals are part of. After the EPA and other agencies, along with organizations, help the locals gain a voice. Social matters range from a social license to operate the Pebble Mine needed and multiple EPA community conferences that focus on a lot of the locals' concerns. The main two concerns that would be in the video is about the Clean Water Act and watershed assessment. A good book to read if you are wanting to know more about how the locals feel is called Who Killed the Pebble Mine by Donald Walker. A social license to operate refers to the ongoing acceptance of a company or industry standard business practices and operating procedures by employees, stockholders, and general public. Here's a table showing who all is involved in this process. Pebble Mine was denied the license for the locals needed to sign off on mine blueprints and methods, but the locals didn't feel comfortable with the method that Pebble Mine was planning on using. They did this through the Alaska Tribal Council, who helped voice their concerns to both the Alaskan government and Pebble Mine Partnership. Holly and Mitchum wrote an article in 2016 on how the Crystal Bay locals thought the Pebble Mine Partnership, titled The Mine Dialogue, a case study in public arrangement and the social license to operate. They stated in 2005 the Alaska Intertribal Council voted to oppose the mine on behalf of 231 Alaskan Native tribes. In 2009, the Crystal Bay Native Corporation, representing 8,000 shareholders, also voted to oppose the mine. These groups were joined by non-local fishing permit owners and private sports fishing lodges in the area, which is located on page 20. This indicates that as of 2009, Pebble Mine does not have a social license to operate. EPA held multiple community conferences. The main concerns were based on the Clean Water Act and watershed assessment, which Pebble Mine did not achieve enough of the criteria that both concerns needed. Section 404C is the main part of the Clean Water Act that EPA focused on, which they authorized EPA to prohibit, restrict, or deny the discharge of dredge or full materials at defined sites and waters of the United States, including wetlands, whenever it determines, after notice and opportunities for public hearing, that use of such sites for disposal would have an unacceptable achieved impact on one or more of various resources, including fisheries, wildlife, water supplies, and restricted areas, which is stated on the EPA's website under the Clean Water Act tab. Pebble Mine was vetoed by the EPA 3 times in 2007 for not obeying the act. EPA also released a watershed assessment in 2014, which Ahmed mentioned in the article titled "The Baseline Bar" in 2017, which she stated the watershed assessment, a final scientific assessment of the Crystal Bay watershed that examines the results of the large-scale mining on fish populations, wildlife development, and the Alaskan Native community. With even a best-case scenario without any leaks or failures, Pebble Mine would destroy up to 94 miles of stream and estimated up to 5,350 acres of wetland. And in a dire circumstances, a tailings dam failure will be catastrophically damaging to the ecosystem and fisheries. This can be found on page 600. Pebble Mine would help Alaska's economy, but at the cost of our marine life and environment around the Pebble Mine site. Luckily, the Crystal Bay locals aren't alone in the fight against the Pebble Mine. Non-local fishermen, jewelry store owners, and others have joined the fight. Throughout researching the mine, one quote popped out. The short life of a sulfide mine is 50 to 70 years, and maybe a little longer, 75. But once that activity has done, the mine isn't just going to sit there with all of the chemicals and continuing to kill off more of the river and streams. And then instead of the 24% of Niship and River contaminated, it's going to become 100%. And that is going to be the death of 37 communities in Crystal Bay, testified a local named Shireen Shapkuk in an EPA conference. This quote was found in an article written in 2016 by Herbert titled "Chronicle of a Disaster Foretold, Scientific Risk Assessment, Public Participation, and a Political Impairment in Crystal Bay, Alaska. Will you join the fight?" I wanted to add a quick disclaimer that some words may have been mispronounced due to learning disabilities, and that the references for the photos and tables are on the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you for watching.